Hey, it's Soul, and welcome back to Warcraft Weekly, the first show of the new year, and if I'm reading this right, it's the 272nd show. That's more than like 5 years of me doing this. What have I done with my life? While I bottle up my feelings and silently resolve that crisis, let's get to the news, starting with some developer activity in the Community Council Forum. The topic was on faction imbalance in TBC Classic, and on a similar vein, the Season of Mastery Realms. Posters presented their concerns over the age-old problem of server population, with suggestions on how to better control the disparity and making faction balance a little bit more fair. This included restricting transfers for certain factions, merging or connecting realms, maybe providing incentives for players who use free transfers to move to less populated realms. The blue post is very long and pretty thoughtful, and you might hate it anyway. At the very least, I appreciated the candidness of the post, which offers a glimpse into how much the WoW team has to consider when making moves that disrupt faction balance, while at the same time admitting wrongs and challenges. I advise reading the entire post. I'll link it in the description below if I remember it, but I'll summarize the main takeaways. Messing with faction balance with free transfers off realms might move the few people who feel like PvP underdogs, for example, and want to seek out greener pastures, but the rest, well, they might stay because they're happy with how realm balance is working out at that moment. The problem is when the people who want to leave do leave, the faction disparity becomes greater, and now those people who were happy with the state of things no longer are, whether it's the underdog faction or the majority faction, because maybe it no longer feels sporting to constantly steamroll their enemies, although that does kind of feel fun sometimes. What might seem like a good idea for a certain audience might negatively disrupt the experience for everyone after several degrees. Merging or connecting realms sounds like a good idea, and it's been done before, but what that does is disrupt the identity of multiple realms. The people who had remained there all this time might have been happy in a low-pop realm with an easygoing economy, and there's no guarantee that connecting realms would result in a healthy outcome. Other MMOs have their own incentives though. Final Fantasy XIV does what they call the Road to 70, where certain realms are flagged, and if you make a new character on that realm, you get double the experience during a certain period. It'd be kind of cool to see that on a per server or per faction basis in World of Warcraft to encourage players not to transfer necessarily, but instead to make new characters.
Oh, what's that? Fresh meat?
Like on a PvP server, this would be like sending lambs off to the slaughter. And I guess that's why a comparison like this sort of falls apart. The classic WoW series employ both PvE and PvP servers, so the mindset is very different from other MMOs. This whole thing is a tough nut to crack, but for now, I'm just going to turn it over to you folks. Stretch that brain a little bit. If you were the big boss of WoW Classic, not World of Warcraft, but WoW Classic, what sorts of approaches would you consider regarding faction balance? Because if we're talking about today's WoW, you know what I would suggest to fix faction imbalance. I mean, say it with me now. Player housing. Wait, oh no, not player housing. Oh, my bad. Sorry. Let's move on. Kind of a letdown this week. This 9.2 build was a bit small for a first build of 2022, and now that I said it, I think it's a little bit abusive for me to hope that the team would have, done some work over the holiday break, like
Merry Christmas, happy productivity, bitch.
Yeah, it's not very nice. So let's talk about what dropped this week. This build is slowly attaching the weapon and armor pieces data mined weeks ago to actual items. This includes numerous armor and weapon skins, and, I gotta pause for a second. Like, one of my guildmates pointed out that it really sucks that for the past few expansions, the look of dungeon gear hasn't changed from season to season. I mean, I sort of get why, because before Mythic Plus, dungeons were just dungeons and the gear never changed anyway. We all just kind of moved on, or we skipped them altogether. But in a Shadowlands kind of world with tons of unique cosmetics that have come from rares and treasures and events and Torghast and covenants and more, the WoW team could have had, they could have taken a sprinkle of that stuff and put it into dungeons as like random cosmetic drops. Like, hey, a random sword or weapon or something, that's cool. It doesn't have to be much, right? But a value greater than 0? Yeah, that would have been cool. Anyway, there's lots of cool stuff to incentivize a visit to Zereth Mortis, even if you're not fully sold on what's basically pretty much going to be treated like the Covenant Sanctum, an almost totally optional, solo-ish experience with the long-term rewards being cosmetic. Included with this build is finally a working reputation vendor with some curious items available. There's the usual stuff, there's a contract to buy, there's some toys and cosmetics, and to really drive it home as the final major patch, the Infinite Augment Rune. Pretty sure by now, if you've been working on that mission table, you've earned more than enough gold to buy this item for your main, while continuing to milk those people with multiple alts. And then there's this gear here, which kind of mysteriously appears as you progress through the zone. Because from testing, a fresh alt doesn't see anything, but my main test character happens to see a number of armor pieces to buy, while other people on social media that I've seen have linked even more complete armor selections. So for now, let's speculate. Throughout the zone are many rares, some of which drop each of the pieces of armor that you actually see here. Of course, the drops aren't guaranteed, so here's my theory. I think the team is trying out a form of bad luck protection. When you kill the rares that drop these items for the first time, whether the item drops or not, the associated item will then appear on this quartermaster vendor. These items are bought with sand-worn relics, yay, a currency. It's found in a chest in the zone as well as certain rares. So here's what I think's going on. Like, if you want these sets, hopefully you'll just get lucky and it'll drop off of these rares. But if you're not lucky, as you're farming and trying to get this stuff, you're earning this currency, and eventually you can just buy the pieces that you're missing. It's bad luck protection that you can see. And if I'm right, this might be a pretty cool approach, and I hope this experiment works out to where we would see this in future content. Shaman should be happy about this new addition. After many moons, new Ghost Wolf forms will be available via Glyph. Now, if you ask me which one I like more, hey, which one do you like more? Thanks for asking. This is just my opinion. I think the progenitor wolf looking thing puts the Vulpine to shame, and yeah, I feel really bad because that was based off of a shop mount. Okay, I don't really feel bad. In what looks like the conclusion of the bad Warlock Helm saga, I think we're starting to draw to a close. This build altered the helmet yet again, smoothing out the top, but more noticeably adding bananas, bunny ears, horns to the top of the hood to remind us that, right, it's a Warlock. WoW team, I vote that you throw some demon horns on this thing and call it a day. You know, I think I should have said, hey, WoW team, take off the hood, then put horns on it and call it a day. And there were a few major changes to the Jailer's Gauntlet in Torghast. It looks like the reward structure is getting a revamp. According to Wowhead, some rewards were shuffled around, and the final reward at the highest difficulty has been removed for now. Let's see what's in store for challengers in future builds. Especially because this build is also making the challenge more difficult after getting feedback from testers, while regrettably, I haven't revisited this in a few weeks. I'm kind of glad to see it getting buffed though. It felt kind of awkward seeing certain classes smoke this thing with only PTR gear, and considering what should only be cosmetic rewards coming from this feature, I see no problem with the team cranking up the difficulty to help kind of pass the time. My other take though, I really hope that if there is a reward revamp, that we get stuff that encourages multiple playthroughs, unlike the twisting corridors, rest in peace. I'll fire off a few examples like class-specific rewards, as in come as different classes, get different things. Maybe multiple rewards off the loot table. Maybe a Jailer's Gauntlet currency and a vendor to buy stuff with. A strawberry shortcake, you know, whatever. But let's take a step back, folks. This is the last major patch of Shadowlands. This is it. Shadowlands has been exceptional in a bad way, with the long wait between the launch and patch 9.1, and to an extent waiting for the quality of life improvements in 9.15. But Shadowlands is going to be here for a little while longer while we wait for the next expansion, whenever that is. I've been predicting it's going to be this year, but I don't blame anyone for thinking of a 2023 release. I don't take offense to anyone who's gone on break or moved on, but still wants to keep tabs on what's going on. Hi there. But let's take a quick look back at some recent final patch content. In Legion's final patch, we had a new battleground, we had level scaling, and the legendary garage sale, as well as the mage tower. During Battle for Azeroth, we had horrific visions, corruption farming, and the whole power fantasy that came with it. In Shadowlands, we're going to get Zereth Mortis collecting, the Jailer's Gauntlet, and maybe a few sprinkles of the mage tower. And all of this is on top of the usual raid and Mythic Plus and PvP season. Personally, I'm kind of okay with the offering so far, thanks to the pretty clear distinction between progression and solo content. There's a ton of cosmetics that I've still yet to earn between the four covenants, so for a player profile like mine, there's arguably more for me to do during this expansion lull than in previous expansions. But, you know, that's just me. And that's the show. I tried to be a little bit better this week by uploading the roughly full streams of Coffee with Soul over on the second channel. Feel free to let that run on your second screen, or in the car, or in the bathroom, or in the shower. We got into some fun conversations like how to make race-class combinations happen in the most offensive and hilarious way possible, and there were plenty of spicy takes. Give that channel a visit, or even better, subscribe to it. I'm pretty close to getting 1,000 subs there, which should let me monetize and grow a little bit more, so the help is appreciated. As usual, a huge thanks to our subscribers over on Twitch, our beloved patrons, and to you for making it to the end of the show. I wish you all a welcome back after the holiday break. It's good to have you. I hope you come back soon. Like the video if you had a good time, subscribe for more, and we will see you next time. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.